Cool. Just so, I mean, we've kind of been talking about this Mentimeter program, but just so everyone's kind of on the same page, it's going to be used for interactivity and to collect some feedback from all of you. And so each slide will have that code if you need to change devices or anything like that. So we'll start off with using this as a warm up and have a bit of a lead in. So I want everyone to see if they can answer this question. Have you used a financial calculator? That was kind of a easy question. This could be a compound interest calculator or retirement calculator. It looks like it's working or getting some responses. Um, I'll give it a second. I don't know how many participants we have here for a few more. So most people have used a financial calculator for themselves and with clients. Okay, that's great. So next, I want to ask you about a more specific tool, and I'm sure you can guess what it is. This is a robo-advisor. So the question this time is, have you used a robo-advisor? The same choices to choose from as last time. I'll give this one a minute. Okay. So a few people have used them for themselves, it looks like, but most people have not used them at all and don't really have experience. That's great because that is what I'm going to be talking about today. And so we are going to be talking about with our time today, robo-advisors and financial counseling. So before I kind of continue and really jump into the content, I'm Taylor Nelson and I'm a AFC candidate doing Andy's program. And I want to tell you just a little bit about me and why I chose the robo-advisors so you can kind of see the background there. So for the past few years, I've been working with Cooperative Extension, and my team is focused on creating what we call decision support tools. And really, we came to that because we realized much of the research that we were doing wasn't being put into practice by our clients. And our clients are specifically farmers, but a little bit different there. So there were barriers that made adoption to the practices like tedious and not obvious to clients. And to combat this, like we started building our own tools and giving people tools that engage them, help them learn information, and ultimately help them make a decision. And people really like these things. And in many ways, they've come to expect them because of, everyone has their phone in front of them. They have the newest website. And so that is kind of what a robo-advisor is. A robo-advisor is a decision support tool at a really high level. They put investing practices into use in a simple and accessible way. And many are built not only to help make those decisions, but also combat behavioral biases that are actually going to impede saving and investing. So like a financial calculator, a robo-advisor is just going to do some calculation for you, and then it's going to take it one step further and actually implement those decisions. So we're going to go over those, kind of peer into the black box that robo-advisors may seem. And as we go, I try to keep this a little bit informal. If you have any questions, I have the chat in front of me, or feel free to ask a question. So we will get started with the official definition of a robo-advisor, so everyone is on the same page. So robo-advisors are digital platforms that provide automated algorithmic investment services with minimal human supervision. So it sounds like a really big mouthful. So I kind of want to break that down. So digital platform simply means you have access to their service through a website or an app. You're not going to go to a bank or talk to someone in person. You're going to access this through the internet. That's something most people are comfortable with, but some of your clients may not be. Automated is going to mean that they're going to follow a set of rules to create and manage your investment. So it's like for portfolio creation and management, just like automatic bill pay is for your credit card. Algorithmic sounds complicated as well, like they're going to be using this crazy algorithm, but really it means they're, again, using a set of rules, and they're matching things like your timeline, your risk tolerance, your goal type. And oftentimes there isn't really unlimited outputs. There's only a handful of outputs that they could even give you. And then investment services. So this is like specifically, they're saying investment services, not investment advice. And that is something that I want to highlight because they don't offer investment, personal financial advice. They are not fiduciaries. They are tools to use. And so it can sometimes be confusing because they are going to tell you, this is what we think is good for you. But really, the client and whoever's using the robo-advisor is going to have to decide if that is good for them. It's really just information to use. And then minimal human supervision, like I said, is kind of self-explanatory, but it's going to be really hard to get a human on the phone or find someone to talk to you about these robo-advisor services. So it's one of the things that as counselors, if we know a little bit about, we can talk to our clients about. Okay, we're going to try another of the interactive ones. So what robo-advisor platforms have you heard or seen ads for? And most of you said you hadn't used one before, but I'm sure I'll look for Betterment. Okay, Wealthfront and Betterment are, I'd say, the leaders in the industry. Any other ones? Vanguard has one that is pretty popular. Fidelity has one. Acorns, E-Trade. Okay. Robinhood. A lot of ones are starting to offer different robo-advisor kind of tools. And I think the only one missing here off kind of the top one is Ellevest, and they have a little bit different business model. So I'll kind of talk about them slightly. Which one that you like? I'm going to use Betterment going forward as a kind of model, and they are one of the top ones. So I kind of like them, but I don't have an account at any of them. So I'm not necessarily promoting any of them. But these are some of the ones also in the US, but each country is going to have different robo-advisors. It's country by country specific. So, and with all of these, they're going to have different algorithms, different accounts offered, different features, different amounts of human help available. And like I said, I'm going to use Betterment kind of going forward. And at Betterment, they offer IRAs, they offer taxable brokerages, and some workplaces even have their 401ks through them. They at Betterment have a $0 minimum investment. So you could open an account and not have any money to actually put into it. Their cost is 0.25% of your assets under management. So whatever you are actually putting into Betterment, you're going to pay 0.25%. With Wealthfront, it's the same 0.25%, but you have to have a $500 initial investment. But in general, it's very low initial investments. Ellevest has a little bit different model. They are a women-owned kind of like business, and they are trying to do it differently than the assets under management. And they charge $12 a month, kind of flat fee. And that over time, if you have a lot of money, that's going to make a really big difference. So it's something to look into. And then a lot of them have a premium version where you can talk to people and you pay a little bit more. Like for Betterment, it's 0.65% of an annual fee, and you have to have at least $100,000 invested. And then you can talk to CSPs and have an actual person helping you with your things. So in general, they're all very similar though. And what happens when you go and say, I want to use the robo-advisor? It's a very simple process flow, as they call it. They're going to give you a questionnaire, and that questionnaire is going to analyze your risk tolerance and investment goals. They're going to be like, this is the allocation and portfolio we recommend. And then it's going to manage your investments for you. And if it sounds really simple, it really is. I went through the process pretty much all the way until opening an account with several of these. And the questions they asked me all of 4 questions a lot of times. So like Betterment, when I went to open a retirement account for trial, they said, what are you saving for? And I said, retirement. They said, who will own the account? Okay, me. What age would you like to retire? I'm like, okay, 65, typical retirement age. And then they said, what's your pre-tax income? And do you want to give this goal image and name? The end. And here is your recommended portfolio. Here's your target, spending on your current income that you would have for retirement. So it is very, in a way, simplistic, but it is very sleek, easy to navigate, especially compared to kind of, those like Fidelity or Vanguard on their sites. The robo-advisors are meant to be on your phone and really sleek. So how often you can change your goals kind of whenever you want. It does often have a tax implication if you're changing your goals, because you're actually it's making trades for you and changing what accounts you have and things like that. I'm not sure anything about Navy Federal's digital investor tool. And do you feel like credit unions have a lower percentage fee they charge? I'm not sure if that's with a robo-advisor or not. So maybe clarify that question. I can come back to it. But getting into what they actually recommend, this is pretty standard, and this is what Betterment recommends as their 90-10 portfolio. So this is the breakdown of each ETF, the ticker symbol, the portion of the portfolio, and what they call this portfolio is well-diversified, low cost, and designed to generate long-term returns while reducing the risk through diversification. So like most robo-advisors, they're using ETFs. And if you look at some of the fees here, they are really low. I zoom things right in front of it, but their expense ratios are really low. But if you add that 0.25%, your average is going to be a little bit higher, especially compared to, I pulled some of these target date funds or just total market index funds from Fidelity and Vanguard of what their expense ratios are. So they're even lower than that. So you kind of have to think about, what are the pros and cons, and then understand what are you getting for that 0.25% fee. So the answer to that question is really going to be automation and tax tools. So I pulled this graph from Pete Atney's website. If you don't know him, he's better known as Mr. Money Mustache. And he's been running an experiment with Betterment since October 2014. So it's like almost 10 years now. And he's been comparing the returns of a Betterment portfolio, which is 90% stocks and 10% bonds, pretty much the same one I just showed you, a Vanguard US stock ETF, and a Vanguard International stock ETF. So what he did here is he put $100,000 in a taxable account at Betterment, and he's added $1,000 per month since then. So you can see the results here that, US stocks have done exceptionally well in the past 10 years, and the Betterment portfolio has done pretty well, especially with this TLH's tax loss harvesting. So it's kept up. And if you actually pull the numbers off that, the Betterment one has reinvested $49,000 in dividends and harvested $120,000 in tax losses. So I would like to note, he's in a relatively high tax bracket. If you or your client was in a lower tax bracket, that's not going to make as much of a difference. And it's also not going to matter if you're using tax advantaged accounts, such as an IRA. What will matter and what features you could use despite that would be a feature such as cash flow rebalancing. So most robo-advisors will do cash flow rebalancing where as you, automatically contribute money each month, it will buy ETFs based on your portfolio and keep it at that desired asset allocation. It will also do reallocation where, similar to a target date fund, it will, as your time horizon changes, the algorithm will gradually change your asset allocation. So if you have taxable and tax advantage accounts, you can also use an asset location feature where the algorithm will calculate which account to put each ETF in based on how tax efficient it is. So in general, this is going to mean putting bonds and high dividend paying stocks in tax advantaged accounts, and then all your other things in your taxable account. So there's a plethora of other tools, and some that exist only on some platforms or only if you have a certain amount of money on their platform. But these are ones that are pretty standard throughout them. I don't know if I missed any questions, but
you're good.
Okay. So we've highlighted kind of the 7 top features of robo-advisors, and I kind of want to hear from you all. Do you feel like that's a benefit or not? So a pro or a con. So if you think simplicity, for example, is purely a benefit, you take this slider and slide it all the way over to the right to the strongly agree side. And I will give you a second to figure this one out because there are 7 different things. I'm interested to see what everyone thinks. Okay, we're getting some answers. I think my answer of this is like, it depends for every single one, but some more strongly than others. So, okay. So I'm going to go through each one and kind of reflect on what you guys said and then what it kind of means and how I think about it. So we're still getting some answers in, but simplicity is skewing over to it. That's a really big benefit. And so I think it's really a benefit if it accurately captures clients' goals and they understand the limitations of it. So it seems to me like it's a net positive, and maybe you all agree, because their main goal with the simplicity is to get investors involved and started on their investing journey, especially, young tech savvy investors. Then personalization, I think you guys have like pretty low on personalization. And yeah, I would agree that's like, is it enough? A lot of times it's not asking a lot of questions. And if you don't have a good understanding of what your own needs are using this tool, then it's not making a recommendation and it's not personalized financial advice. So it's not really considering all the aspects. And with Betterment, there were 101 different portfolios that they could recommend to you, but there's infinite number of portfolios that you could use. So okay, accessibility. We're really high on accessibility. And I think, these are, because they're internet-based, available anytime, anywhere, with a very low amount of cash needed to open an account and get started. And unlike some online investing platforms, think like Robinhood, where they incentivize day trading and stock picking, which aren't necessarily best practices of long-term investing, most robo-advisors don't allow those behaviors just the way they are set up. And so they are behavioral, trying to push you in the direction of buy and hold long-term investing. So transparency, we're kind of in the middle. Most of them are very clearly documented, and Betterment was very transparent about what they were doing. You can see I found the ticker symbols and percentage of all my portfolio that they would recommend to me. But it is kind of the terms and concepts that clients might not be familiar with. And another thing to note would be the portfolio may change over time. So you say, this is the portfolio recommending, this is the one you're accepting. It may change over time because of what the company is doing and what direction they're taking it. And so you'd have to kind of keep up with that a little bit and understand that. So we're about a middle on fees here. They do cost money, and clients or whoever's using it is paying for a service. They are cheaper than a person who's actually managing their money. I think the industry average for someone to manage your investments is about 1%, but it can be higher. And so 0.25% is pretty low. And in fact, some financial advisors or like CFPs I have heard of actually use these robo-advisors to manage their clients' investments. So you might send someone to a CFP and they give them advice, but they're just going to push their money over to Betterment, and Betterment is a client that can do that. So automation and tax tools. We're really high on automation, midway on tax tools. And personally, I think the automation and optimization tax tools especially are the biggest benefits to these. And these are the things like that the computers are doing great that even a human advisor would not do as well. They can check your portfolio, check things every hour, every day, where a human might not check it all the time. And like I said, some financial advisors actually use the robo-advisors. So I have a few more minutes, and what I want to think about next is what are the opportunities for counseling? And I've kind of mentioned a couple of them as we go. And this is a quote from a research paper that was about investor decisions to use robo-advisors. And when you see here that the authors state there may exist a mismatch between the robo-advisor's recommendations based on the simple questionnaires collected from users and the actual investment needs and goals of these users, which often compromises more complex financial situations, constraints, and psychological perspectives that can hardly be captured. So that's why you need a real person. So I worked with someone who their company uses Betterment as a 401k. She is a college educated, like works in a startup that is a pretty tech savvy, but really had no financial background at all. And when she set up her, account, she didn't know how to get the company match on Betterment. Didn't know what that meant or how much she should be putting in. And she was prompted by the software to open a taxable brokerage account. And so she did. And she started putting money in it. And it's like, investing is good. And I'm like, it is good. But that was, she did that for like 5 years. And then was talking to me and I was like, well, what are you saving all this money for? Are you putting it in your Roth IRA? And it was like, so the software can only do so much. And so she really needed help understanding what her goals were, what different accounts to use. She didn't have the rebalance or tax loss harvesting features turned on because she didn't know what those were. So all those to me seemed like perfect opportunities to kind of educate and counsel on these tools. So knowing a little bit more about these, this one's an open-ended question. Can you all think of an opportunity for counseling surrounding robo-advisors? And the way this one works is you should be able to vote for people's responses. So as they come in, you can be like, I like that one, and we can highlight it and discuss it a little bit together. Cross-reference, a good starting point. Educate clients on fees and pro and con. Roth. So a lot of, investing education. Okay. Homework and prep for meeting with an in-person advisor, what to expect. Opportunity to introduce clients to investing risks and options before working with a personal advisor. Yeah, I mean, it's a good, like I said, there's $0 to get started. There's a lot of these. And so you could work up, since a lot of advisors will have a minimum amount that they will manage. And so you could start there. Okay, best practice would be really doing it yourself. So I just want to make sure everyone is on the same page. If the Robo-advisor is doing it yourself, really, it is just a tool to do it yourself. So it would be doing it yourself would be maybe going through, Fidelity or Vanguard and kind of picking out your things and moving them yourself. But this is just a tool. You'd have to do it yourself.
Maybe it's you also do it as a counselor versus just your client doing it so that you have the experience. Maybe that's where.
True. That's a good one. Yeah, of a few. No. Okay. These are all great. I'm going to use them going forward. Okay, yeah, and I think the one, I'm trying to think if we got all of them here. And I saw one study that Schwab did that 51% of new investors don't understand how investment fees work, and 41% haven't considered the tax efficiency of their portfolio. So to me, that's a really big benefit of the robo-advisors and something you could really harp on. Questions. So does Betterment have an app? It does. Most of these have an app because that's their entire business model, is to be very tech savvy, accessible at all times, things like that.
Not brick and mortar. That's how they save money.
That's how they save money. Yeah, they have nowhere to go, really no one to talk to. So, okay. Well, thank you everyone for participating. Here's me. I don't have a headshot, so it's me at a coffee shop with my baby. But my contact information. This was a high level overview, but if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
Yeah, I was trying to go back and look at some comments or questions.
I actually have a question about something that Amy commented on because I didn't understand it. It had to do with one benefit of a robo-advisor is tax loss harvesting. I don't know what that is.
Okay, so like when in your portfolio, some things will go up, some things will go down, and because they have different ETFs in there, and the algorithm can buy and sell them at the opportune time to then take advantage of your losses. So when you lose money on investments, you can write them off on your taxes. And so this is, very high level, but that's what they're doing. They are taking advantage of your losses, and you can use it on your taxes to then save money.
Thank you very much.
Pauline, did you have a question?
Yes, but I think I found it, but correct me if I'm wrong. So I was looking at how our assets or income that we deposit are protected from those losses, and Betterment says it's not FDIC insured, but I'm wondering if any of the other ones are.
So it's like an investment account with these. So they have checking and savings accounts that are FDIC insured, and they have partnerships through banks. But their investment accounts use SIPC, like SIPC insurance through the federal government. So since it is an investment, you can lose money on it, risk there. But if Betterment went under as a company, your investments would be protected through that insurance. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Taylor.
I have one real quick, Taylor.
Yeah.
So if you have a client who is looking for investment education, because obviously we're not giving advice, and they're interested in a robo-advisor as an alternative to a financial advisor because of the fee basis, what would you recommend for them in terms of making sure they have the education necessary so that they're making the right choices in those investments? They're not ending up, putting their 401k money in a taxable account.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the opportunity for us as financial counselors to educate them. And even just like we could walk through the software with them and do you understand this choice you're making? Do you understand what this term means?
Yeah.
I know different people have different kind of lines of where they would draw it, but I think it would be.
Have you noticed that any of the ones that you tested out have any sort of basic education information available for their users?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them have little info buttons, or they have websites that have information you can go to and be like, what is this? What am I doing? But most people don't read that, to be honest. I'm the weird person that goes and reads it because I'm like, what are they doing here? But most of the clients aren't actually reading that, I'm guessing.
That's a good point.